Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving headfirst into the world of fintech. We're going to unpack how 4Geeks is tackling the modernization of financial services. So if you've ever felt like, your banking app is stuck in the Stone Age, or maybe you're just curious about how this whole industry is evolving, well, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to be taking apart 4Geeks' whole approach and pulling out the most interesting parts, hopefully sparking a few aha moments along the way. So let's get right into it. Why does the financial world even need modernizing? What problem is 4Geeks on a mission to solve here?
Well, I think the simplest way to put it is the financial services industry. It's facing a perfect storm right now. You've got this combination of outdated technology, customers who, let's be honest, expect Amazon-level experiences. And then on top of all of that, you've got regulations that are constantly shifting the playing field.
Okay, yeah, that sounds honestly kind of chaotic. So 4Geeks keeps mentioning legacy systems as a major roadblock. What's the deal with those? What exactly are we talking about here?
It's kind of like, imagine trying to run a Formula One race car, but with a, 1900s engine.
Ouch.
That's essentially the situation many financial institutions are dealing with. These legacy systems are like ancient relics. They're super expensive to maintain. They're really difficult, almost impossible to integrate with any modern technology, and they just can't keep up.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And it's not like customers are known for their patience,
Mhm.
especially now when we're also used to instant streaming and one-click purchases and all that.
Exactly. Customers are used to things being easy, personalized. They want their bank to know who they are, what they need, and ideally offer them solutions before they even realize they need them.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Netflix can tell me what I want to binge watch next, but my bank still thinks a paper statement is innovative.
Hmm.
Not exactly building brand loyalty.
Not at all. And keep in mind, all of this is happening while the industry is facing all these increasingly strict regulations, you know, to combat fraud and protect data.
Yeah.
It's a real balancing act, even for the most agile institutions.
So this is where 4Geese comes in. They're saying, hey, we can help guide you through all this and modernize for the future.
Hmm.
But what does that actually look like? How are they actually doing that?
Well, the interesting thing is they're not just trying to sell some one-size-fits-all software. Their focus is on understanding a client's unique needs and challenges. Really figuring out what makes them tick. And then they tailor the solution to the specific situation.
So it's a true partnership then, not just, hey, here's our platform.
Exactly. But within that approach, they do focus on a few key areas. And the first one is digital transformation.
Okay, so that's about ditching the dinosaurs,
Yeah.
embracing modern tech and infrastructure. But what does that look like in practice? What are we actually talking about here?
It's about getting rid of those old systems, replacing them with something built for, speed and flexibility. It's about automating a lot of those tedious manual tasks.
Freeing up employees to focus on more important things.
Exactly. And of course, it's about making sure those online and mobile platforms are actually good, ones that don't make you want to pull your hair out.
We've all been there,
Exactly.
been subjected to some truly terrible banking apps.
But it's not just about, the visual aspect, right? It's got to work seamlessly behind the scenes, too. Absolutely. You got it. It's about leveraging technology to make things more efficient, cut down on costs, and ultimately provide a better experience for everyone.
So what else is on the menu for modernization?
Well, data analytics and AI are really key parts of their approach.
Everyone's talking about AI these days, but how are they actually applying it in the financial world? What's the secret sauce?
One of the big areas they're focusing on is what they call predictive analytics. So imagine a financial service that doesn't just react to your needs, but it anticipates them.
Okay, that's cool. What would that look like for the average person?
Well, for example, maybe your bank sends you a notification. They're suggesting a savings plan based on your spending habits. Or perhaps you get a personalized investment recommendation and you didn't even have to ask for it.
It's like having a personal financial advisor, but without the huge fees. And it's always available.
That's it.
I can see why that's exciting.
And it's not just about personalized recommendations either. They're also using AI for things like chatbots, for customer support.
Which is great for both the customer and, let's be honest, probably a lifesaver for those poor customer service reps who have to answer the same questions all day long.
Exactly. That frees up human agents to deal with the more complex issues.
The stuff that actually requires that human touch.
Absolutely.
And of course, we can't talk about all this without mentioning the elephant in the room, which is fraud, especially as things become increasingly digital.
You're absolutely right. Transactions are happening online, lightning speed, and so real-time fraud detection is essential.
That's where AI comes in again.
Exactly. You can think of it like a superpowered detective, you know? It analyzes millions of transactions, identifies suspicious patterns, stops the bad guys before they can do any damage.
So it's like a 24/7 security system, but for your money.
That's a great way to put it. It's about trust and making people feel safe and secure, especially in today's world.
Now, we can't talk about modern tech without mentioning the cloud. What's 4Geeks' stance on cloud computing and finance?
They're big proponents. They see it as a game changer, and I think for good reason. So let's start with scalability. As a financial institution grows, their technology needs to be able to keep up.
Yeah.
Cloud computing offers that flexibility. You know, they can seamlessly scale their operations without needing massive hardware upgrades every time they grow.
So it's like having an office building that magically expands or contracts depending on how many employees you have.
Yes, exactly. And that flexibility is crucial in today's world.
For sure. What about security, though? There's always a trade-off, isn't there?
That's a valid concern for sure. But 4Geeks would argue that the cloud actually enhances security.
Okay, tell me more.
So think about it. With those traditional systems, if something happens to your physical servers, like a natural disaster or even just a power outage,
Yeah.
your entire operation could be down. But cloud computing, that relies on a network of data centers.
Okay.
So even if one of them goes down, your data is still safe and accessible from another location.
So it's like having multiple backups of your most important files.
That's a great way to think about it.
No more frantic calls to IT when the server crashes.
Right. And even beyond that, security cloud-based platforms, they allow for much better collaboration.
How so?
Teams can work together on documents, projects, whatever, in real time.
Oh, interesting. So location doesn't even matter.
Exactly. It's like having a virtual office where everyone is always on the same page.
I like it.
It's all about breaking down those silos and improving communication.
Got it. Now, I can't let you off the hook without asking about the B word blockchain. It feels like this mysterious concept. How does 4Geeks see blockchain and cryptocurrency fitting into this whole modernization thing?
They are all in. They see it as a game changer, especially when you're talking about transparency and security.
Okay, so for those of us who are still catching up, how does blockchain actually do that? How does it make things more transparent and secure?
Imagine a ledger, a digital ledger, that keeps track of every single transaction. And it's not just on one computer, it's on a whole network of computers.
Okay.
And it's virtually impossible to alter any of the data without everyone on that network knowing about it.
So it's like having a million witnesses to every transaction.
Exactly. And because everything is recorded and verifiable, it makes it much harder for fraud to occur. It really increases trust.
I can see why they're excited about it, but it still feels like early days. Are they actively using it, or is it more about potential for the future?
It's a little of both. Right now, they're really focused on helping clients figure out how blockchain can be integrated into what they already have
Okay.
to improve efficiency, reduce costs, and maybe even create entirely new revenue streams.
Yeah.
For example, imagine if you could streamline cross-border payments or make verifying a customer's identity much more secure.
Right, so it's about finding those practical applications,
Yeah.
not just using it because it's the hot new thing.
Exactly. It's about creating solutions that actually make a difference for everyone.
Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we have to talk about security, cybersecurity specifically,
Couldn't agree more.
because you could have the most cutting-edge, innovative system, but if it's not secure, what's the point?
It's like building a high-tech fortress, but forgetting to put a lock on the front door.
Exactly. So how is 4Geeks thinking about cybersecurity within this modernization effort?
They have a multi-layered approach, which is really the only way to do it. They're not just building a better mousetrap. They're making sure it comes with a really good cat, too, if you know what I mean.
I like that analogy.
But really, security can't be an afterthought. It has to be baked in from the very beginning.
Well said. And speaking of things that should be baked in from the start, what about customer experience? I feel like 4Geeks wouldn't be where they are if they weren't laser focused on that, creating really great, enjoyable customer experiences.
Absolutely. They understand that a great product isn't enough anymore. You need to create those experiences that are seamless, efficient, but also personalized.
Yeah, it's got to be user-friendly too. What good is a super advanced banking app if no one can figure out how to use it?
Exactly. And that's where user-centric design comes in.
Okay.
It's about putting the customer at the center of every single decision, making sure that technology makes their lives easier, not more complicated.
So no more getting lost in a maze of menus.
Ideally, no. 4Geeks really believes in personalization, making sure their engagement is omnichannel, and that the design is intuitive.
Okay, I have to ask, omnichannel engagement. Can you break that down for it?
Sure. It basically just means meeting customers wherever they are.
Okay.
So whether they're on your website, the app, social media, even if they walk into a physical branch, it should be a seamless experience.
So it shouldn't matter how they choose to interact. It should feel like one unified experience.
Exactly. It's about putting the customer in control, giving them the flexibility to manage their finances in a way that works for them.
I like it. So we've talked about a lot here: digital transformation, data analytics, the cloud, blockchain, even security, and this whole idea of an omnichannel approach. Do we miss anything?
Just one more piece of the puzzle:
Oh, and what's that?
partnerships.
Partnerships. Okay, so it sounds like 4Geeks is really tapping into this idea of collaboration. But what kind of partners are we even talking about here?
Well, they've got a pretty wide range, which makes sense. Modernization takes a village, right? So you've got those big established tech companies with their cutting edge tools, but then you've also got these smaller niche players who are like really pushing the boundaries in areas, like AI or cybersecurity. And then they're even working with regulators, making sure they're ahead of the curve when it comes to compliance.
So it's really about finding partners that are aligned, right? Not just checking a box, but sharing a vision for the future.
Absolutely. They want partners who get it, who are committed to this idea of innovation, putting the customer first.
Which is key because, let's be honest, the financial industry isn't exactly known for being nimble and quick to adapt. So partnering with some of these more agile players seems like a smart move.
It is. It lets them be more responsive to new trends and get solutions out there faster.
It's like that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly. And in fintech, you really need to be able to do both.
Now, before we move on, can we circle back to blockchain for a second? You were talking about its potential, but how is 4Geeks actually using it? Are they building their own solutions from scratch, or are they using existing platforms?
That's a great question. It's a bit of both, honestly. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty and build something themselves if they see a need.
Okay.
Like, they've been developing this blockchain-based system to make KYC, know your customer processes more efficient.
Interesting. So for those who don't know, KYC, that's how companies verify a customer's identity to, prevent things like fraud. And I feel like traditionally that's involved a ton of paperwork, a lot of back and forth.
A nightmare. And that's where blockchain comes in.
Yeah.
It lets them create the secure record of a customer's identity. And because it's all on this decentralized ledger, it really streamlines the whole thing. It's faster, it's more secure, and it's less prone to errors.
So it's a win-win, really, for both the institution and the customer.
Exactly.
It sounds like 4Geeks is really pushing the envelope here, actually finding real ways to use this technology.
They are, but they're also realistic. They know that blockchain is still developing, so they're very strategic. They look at each potential use case to see if it's the right fit.
So it's about choosing the right tool for the job, not just using something because it's trendy.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered partnerships, blockchain. It feels like 4Geeks has it all figured out. But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the risks of modernization. I mean, you're talking about a huge shift. 4Geeks seems aware of the cybersecurity threats, but are there other potential downsides to consider?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime there's change on this scale, there are going to be challenges. One of the biggest ones, and I think 4Geeks would agree, is that you can't leave your employees behind.
Right, so you can't just implement new technology. You have to bring people along.
Exactly. If people don't know how to use the new systems, don't understand why the changes are happening, it's not going to work.
So it's really a cultural shift as much as a technological one.
You got it. It's about continuous learning, adapting.
Now, another thing that worries me, and I'm sure this keeps some people up at night, is unintended consequences. We're talking about really complex systems here. A tiny change can have ripple effects. How does 4Geeks approach that?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You can't just focus on the immediate impact. You have to think long-term.
So how do they plan for the unplannable?
Well, it starts with really understanding the systems they're working with, the industry as a whole, and they have a great team for that. But they also do a ton of testing, piloting. They work closely with clients to identify and address any potential issues before they become major problems.
So it's about taking a measured approach, not just rushing in.
Exactly.
That makes sense. It sounds like 4Geeks is being very thoughtful in their approach, which is reassuring.
They are. They're not just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but what about the good stuff? What are the exciting things 4Geeks is making possible?
Oh, there are so many. But I think the most exciting thing is the potential to create truly personalized experiences.
So my bank would actually understand me and my needs.
Exactly. It's about moving away from the one-size-fits-all approach and using data to tailor products and services to each individual.
No more generic product recommendations that make no sense for my situation.
Exactly.
Okay, that is exciting. It's like having a financial advisor in your pocket, but way less expensive.
Right. And it's not just about convenience either. It's about giving people more control over their financial well-being.
Empowering them to make the best decisions for their situation. I like it. We've talked a lot about the customer side of things, but how is all of this impacting the institutions themselves?
It's huge. Think about it. Increased efficiency, lower costs, better risk management. They can create and launch new products and services so much faster than they could before.
So it's not just about surviving anymore, it's about thriving in this new landscape.
That's it. Exactly.
Okay, one last question. We've covered a lot of ground here, but I want to bring it all home for our listeners. We've talked big picture stuff, but what does this actually look like for the everyday person? How is all this going to change how we actually interact with their finances?
That's the whole point, right? It's about making our financial lives easier, less stressful.
Exactly. So paint us a picture. What does the future of finance look like, with 4Geeks vision?
Imagine opening a bank account takes minutes, on your phone, completely secure, or getting a loan approved in real time based on how you actually manage your money, not just a credit score. Imagine all your finances, investments, budgeting, all of it in one place, and you're getting personalized advice whenever you need it.
Okay, now that's a future I can get behind. No more waiting in line, no more confusing paperwork, just simple, personalized, modern financial services.
That's the idea, and it goes beyond convenience. Imagine if fees were totally transparent, if you had personalized financial education, and if you could access a wider range of financial products and services, things that might have been out of reach before.
So it's about leveling the playing field, making the whole system more accessible for everyone.
That's it, giving everyone the opportunity to achieve their financial goals.
That's amazing. It's inspiring to see companies like 4Geeks really leading the way here. And for our listeners, if you want to learn more, we'll have a link to 4Geeks' website in the show notes. Be sure to check it out. We always love to hear from you, too. What would you like to see modernized in the financial world? Let us know. And until next time, keep diving.